Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 cent Nintendo / gaming video for this week, for the week of December 1st through December 7th, where I give you my thoughts on some of the rumors that have caught my attention and give you my thoughts and my opinion about it. Well, and obviously it's the first week of December. I'm sure most of you are doing your holiday shopping, trying to get the gift for your friends, family, or loved ones out there. Hopefully you're successful and find what gift you are looking for and so forth. But anyway, before we get started with the My 2 cent, we'll do a quick rundown of what I view the quick My 2 cents. Some stories that caught my attention to a certain degree, but it's not part of the main My 2 cent part. The first one we do want to talk about is the classic RPG Neverwinter Nights is now available on the Nintendo Switch, and I also believe PS4 and Xbox One. So I never played the original one, but supposedly this is a classic Dungeons and Dragon RPG that was originally released on the PC. So if you're into those kinds of games and all, it's available right now. I think it's, like I said, it's on the Switch, but I also believe it's also available on the PS4 and Xbox One as well. And I do think PC too. I mean, it was originally came to the PC, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's available on PC as well. We also learned that a game called The Legends of Heroes Trial of Cold Steel 3 is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch next spring. This was, I think, from Famicom, or Falcom, if I'm saying the name correctly. They're the ones that did the Yeast series, and they did release one of those games in 2018 on the Switch. It's kind of interesting because there was a comment that developer made about, in regards of a Switch and all that stuff, saying that they weren't supportive of that or anything like that. But now that they're bringing this game over, I do make you wonder that either A, they changed their mind, or NIS America, which is supposedly publishing the title, convinced them to bring it over to the Switch, or perhaps maybe because with the Vita sort of on the way out, the Switch is kind of in a way replacing the Vita. So who knows? There could be many things, but either way, the third one is coming to the Switch. No word if the first or second one will come over or not. Hopefully it is, but we'll see if there's... Well, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if there's like any issues or rights issues or anything like that. But for now, third one will be out next spring for the Nintendo Switch. We also know that an update for Super Mario Maker 2 is now out. They've added some new features, such as, I think, one of the characters, Spike, frozen coins, and for me, this looks like the big one. You can actually play as Link from the classic Legend of Zelda, I believe in the 8-bit mode for now. I believe that's the one. And so basically you can play as Link throughout the entire customized Super Mario level and so forth. Some have saying this is probably the closest thing to a Zelda 2 and all that stuff. So, but either way, the update is out there, so there you go. And also we learned that Pillars of Eternia 2, Deadfire Ultimate Edition has been announced, and there will be a physical version. Supposedly the game will come out to the PS4 and Xbox One first before making their way over to the Nintendo Switch, and apparently a physical version is going to happen. You can check out the link in the description. I have the article there. And last but not least, apparently a leaked art came out of basically what looks like to be a remake of Resident Evil 3 and so forth. Right now there's no official confirmation, and not sure if this leak is true or not. Having said that though, given how well that Resident Evil 2 remake did this year, it did very well and a lot of people like it. I wouldn't be surprised if Capcom is working on a remake of Resident Evil 3. How that will play out and what changes on that they'll make to that one remains to be seen. I mean, if those who played Resident Evil 3 know you can make certain choices though that alter, your confirmation with Nemesis or certain situations, to even some where I believe the trolley one, if depending on what choices you make, either Carlos will help you or not help you during one of the battles with Nemesis, while another choice affects the certain type of ending you get in the game. So unclear if that feature will be in the Resident Evil 3 remake, if that happens or not. So right now, it's a rumor, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out to be true, given how well the Resident Evil 2 remake was well received. All right, with that out of the way, we'll get started with our with our My 2 Cent video, and we'll start off with the first one. And this one has to do with the rumors about Ridge Racer for the Nintendo Switch and the possibility that this game may have been canceled. Now, I believe sometime last year, a YouTuber by the name of Drake81, who sometimes gets sometimes his information's accurate and sometimes it's not always 100% accurate, did a video about, or posted a video on YouTube talking about, excuse me, rumors about off of a linking page that Bandai Namco not only is the one was at the time working on Metroid Prime 4, but possibly could be working on a Ridge Racer game for the Nintendo Switch. Now, as we all know with Metroid Prime 4, that apparently Nintendo decided to restart development and hand over that project to Aulx Studio, and of course apologize for it, which, great that they apologized, but still, I still think they should have gone with Aulx Studio in the first place, though. But as far as the Ridge Racer one, we haven't really heard much about it until recently, though, where it might have been canceled. In an article from Nintendo Life, again, links will be in the description of this video, it reads that, quote, last year, there was a rumor Bandai Namco was bringing Ridge Racer 8 exclusive to the Nintendo Switch. While there was never any official announcement made, this project has now been axed, according to YouTube channel Drake81. This update comes from a LinkedIn profile of a former Bandai Namco Singapore studio employee who used to be a senior software engineer at the company and was the lead engineer on 2 unannounced and canceled titles using Unreal Engine 4. It all ties nicely with Sean Pittman's LinkedIn page, date back to last February, where he was still a lead designer at Bandai Namco Singapore studio. Here, he listed the team was working on an unannounced first-person shooter exclusive to Nintendo's hybrid system, believed to be Metroid Prime 4, before development was restarted by Aulx Studio, and the other game mentioned was the Switch-only title Ridge Racer 8. Though, the source of this discovery, Drake81, is the same individual who found the LinkedIn profile last February, and is previously known for finding references to Nintendo Switch in CD Projekt jobs listing months before The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was announced for the Switch. The last time Ridge Racer appeared on the Nintendo platform was at the beginning of the 3DS generation in 2011. Before then, there was Ridge Racer DS in 2004, the spin-off R-Racing Evolution on the GameCube in 2003, and the Nintendo 64 title Ridge Racer 64 released in 2000. Now, again, like as always, Bandai Namco has not said anything at this time and all that stuff, so we don't know if this story is true or not. But having said that, though, if it is true, if somehow Ridge Racer was apparently canceled for the Nintendo Switch, it is unfortunate, though. I mean, Bandai Namco's support has been pretty good. I will say somewhat a little bit better than Capcom's, definitely better than EA's, that's for certain, since they brought over many games like Dragon Ball Z Fighter, the 2 Sword Art Online, though. They've also, I think, also doing the My Hero Academia. If I'm saying the name correctly, I apologize if I'm not. So they've been they've been a bit more supportive with the Nintendo Switch, although there are some games some Nintendo fans would have liked to see, like Code Vein, Soul Calibur, Tekken, or even, you know, a new enters in the Tales series and so forth. But so far, the responses, they've been more supportive of the Switch. And to hear that this game, if the rumors are true, to be exact, is canceled, is unfortunate and a little bit of a disappointment, though. I mean, the Switch does certainly have a lot of racing games on the Nintendo Switch. Grid Autosports was recently released on the Switch. We also have, I think, V-Rally 4, Gear Club Unlimited, in a way. So there are certainly no short supplies of racing games on the Nintendo Switch. But nevertheless, it would have been nice if this one would have been nice to see this one come to the Nintendo Switch, assuming the rumors were true. Hopefully, maybe Bandai Namco will try again down the road. Maybe they'll bring that revised, perhaps maybe the, what's that one called? Oh yeah, there it is. R Racing Evolution that was originally released for the GameCube back in 2003. Maybe remake that one, to be exact. So overall, if this rumor is true, it is unfortunate and it is a disappointment if it turns out that Rig Racer for the Nintendo Switch was canceled, and especially if that unannounced first-person shooter was canceled, even if it was Metroid Prime 4 to be exact, though, and which it also kind of odd to see. It certainly seems to be there's a situation going on with Bandai Namco Singapore. Again, I could be wrong, but who knows? But overall, like I said, if this is true, a little bit disappointed that Rig Racer isn't coming to the Nintendo Switch anytime soon. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with the possibility that the Nintendo Switch could overtake the original Wii. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a report that has come out that basically points towards, shall we say, the Switch could overtake the Wii's life cycle of sales of consoles, which currently sits at 101. Now, ever since March 2017, though, the Switch has really been killing it, though. It's been doing very well in terms of sales, and it's been putting out a lot of impressive games, even though there are some few hiccups here and there that aren't exactly 100% perfect. Hello, WWE 2K18 raises a bell, though. But despite that, the system continues to do well and in a way kind of defies expectations. Well, now some analysts believe that not only that it's possible that the Switch could overtake the Wii U. I mean, not the Wii U, it's already did. I mean, the Wii, it may have a much longer life cycle than some people would have thought. In an article from Nintendo Life, again, link will be in the description, the title reads, "Switch could enjoy an extended lifespan and even outsell the Nintendo Wii," claims analysts. The article reads, and I quote, "Analysts are claiming that the Switch could defy expectation and enjoy a prolonged lifespan, with some even going as far as say the console could surpass the Wii in terms of lifetime sales. The prediction comes off the back of estimates supplied by Bloomberg, the Bloomberg newspaper and news site, nothing to do with the Michael Bloomberg who's running for president or anything like that, which suggests the Switch could sell around 9.46 million consoles and 64.73 million units of software in the quarter ending December 2019. That marks a software sales jump of around 23% over last year, while hardware remains about the same. It's worth noting that the Switch is heading into its third Christmas, and in tradition, console cycles sales have a habit of dipping around this time. The fact that the Switch is expected to maintain its momentum suggests to some industry analysis that the console's lifespan could be longer than expected. An analyst from Morningstar Investor Service in Tokyo basically made this comment. "This is typically where the sales begin to peak out, but it looks like the Switch may have a longer life cycle. With a desktop console and a portable player in a single machine, Nintendo has a very effective platform for selling game software. Nintendo own forecast remains quite conservative, but it might need to change that if these figures prove to be true. It predicts an operation profit of 260 billion yen, $2.4 billion, on 1.25 trillion yen in revenue for the year ending March 2020, which falls short of analysts' prediction of 308 billion yens and 1.28 trillion yens respectively. The company also stated that it expects to sell 18 million Switch units and 125 million games in this fiscal year, which which is again down to what analysts Bloomberg spoke to, are suggesting a 19.07 million consoles and 147.43 million games. By keeping pace or even surpassing 2018's Christmas figure, Switch could be on course for an impressive lifetime sales, according to this analyst at Goldman Sachs Group. He points out that, quote, last year's holiday is a high hurdle to clear, but there's a good chance for year-on-year growth. Christmas 2018 was a strong one for the system, but the Switch sales performance is being propelled by some solid release in the latter half of 2019, including Luigi's Mansion 3 and Pokemon Sword and Shield, the latter which sold 6 million units in the space of the week. An analyst at Marquee Group explained the importance of this particular release. It's a Pokemon title, so unless you are giving up on the franchise, it's hard to imagine fans not buying it. Pokemon Sword and Shield will probably end up being the single largest game in terms of launch year revenue, probably bigger than Smash Brothers. All this positive news has even convinced Webster security analyst Michael Patcher, that's right, Patcher, the guy who has a history of getting a lot of things. Sometimes he could be right, but he has a history of getting things wrong. Though I believe he made a comment when the Wii U wasn't doing well that Nintendo should go third party while they get their next system out and so forth. But that was a long time ago. Okay, anyway, Michael Patrick, previously one of Nintendo's sternest critics, to suggest the console could overtake the incredible sales milestone set by the Wii. The Switch can sell 20 million units annually for the next 3 years, so it should easily get to 100 million. Marcus Thong thinks this could be optimistic, especially as the game market has changed since the day of the Wii, and a lot of casual players have moved on to tablets and smartphones. Still, he believes Nintendo has the momentum to continue selling tens of millions of consoles even when the Switch reached the latter part of its life cycle. This person also points out 2021 might be an even bigger year for title launches. There's a new Zelda game, and it will be time for a mid-cycle refresh for all major Nintendo titles. So, while it is true a lot of these analysts could be wrong, and there have been times when these analysts have been wrong before in the past, so there's always that possibility. I will say it's not out of the realm of the possibility that the Switch could have not only a longer life cycle, but yeah, it could overtake the original Wii. So yeah, it is possible that could happen. Now, of course, a lot of that will be how Nintendo plays their hands and all that stuff. A lot of it's going to be, can they keep the momentum going? Can they put out a steady flow of good games ranging from first-party titles and have a good strong third-party support? That is definitely important. Compare that to the Wii U. Excuse me. And of course, I think to me the big elephant in the room is next year the PS5 and the Xbox Scarlet's going to be out. And the big question is, what kind of impact will that have on the Nintendo Switch? Excuse me. Will that have a negative impact on it, or will it have no impact at all? I mean, when the PS3 and Xbox 360 came out, despite those being more powerful than the Wii, it wasn't enough to damage the Wii or anything. It became successful. It sold like 101 million units. I mean, granted, some of that was because they had the casual market at the time, though, and all that stuff. But nevertheless, those two systems it wasn't enough to stop the Wii in any way or anything like that. So it's possible the PS5 and Xbox Scarlet may not have any impact on the Nintendo Switch at all. At the same time, there's always a possibility it could. So we'll probably find out next year to see where things are with that. But yeah, I could see the Switch overtaking the Wii. As far as having a longer life cycle, I could definitely see that happening as well. I mean, it will be very difficult for Nintendo to go back to the days of having just a console and a handheld like that, since the Switch is basically both those things. It would be really difficult. And if Nintendo is serious about continuing the Switch's life cycle and having the Switch go around for a long time, I think some of that may have to do with I kind of agree with this, a brand new Switch, like a Switch 2 or Switch Pro. I think that at some point, given how successful the Switch is right now, I think they will have to look at doing a more powerful Switch. I think more powerful than the current one, more powerful than the PS4 and Xbox One were, but I don't see it being as powerful as the PS5 or Scarlet is going to be. I could be wrong, but given Nintendo's history, I don't see them doing something like that. And with rumors about Nvidia possibly putting out that Tegra X1 Plus, if this turns out to be true or anything like that, for their next upcoming for their new Nvidia Shield, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that enters in the Nintendo Switch, or if Nintendo picks a different chipset from Nvidia, considering they have a partnership with them that supposedly will last about 2 decades, barring any major changes or anything like that. So, overall, it's not out of the realm of the possibility that the Switch could overtake the Nintendo Wii, and I could see Nintendo keeping the Switch going on for a long time, possibly beyond its console's life cycle and so forth, but we'll have to wait and see. But it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that could happen to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 3, and this one has to do with the report that Nintendo may have had a very successful Black Friday. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo seems to be did have a great Black Friday this year. So as always, one of the big things for the start of the holidays is after Thanksgiving is the traditional Black Friday. A lot of retailers like to put their stuff out. A lot of consumers want to take advantage of any of those deals or anything like that. And sometimes it works well for a lot of retailers. Other times, some people put something out and it doesn't become the success that they want it to be, like Google Stadia, for example. Google tried to get that out during the holidays, knowing that all the features weren't available and so forth. And, well, from what we've been hearing, it doesn't seem to be doing very well. That said, it looks like Black Friday was certainly kind to Nintendo, as apparently the Switch was basically the winner of Black Friday, at least according to what I've been reading. In an article on CNN Business, it reads, quote, it reads that the Nintendo Switch just had its best week of sales yet in the United States. The Switch and the Switch Lite video game console sold more than 830,000 copies over Thanksgiving weekend and Monday, which was the best Cyber Monday yet for the Nintendo Switch, according to the company. Nintendo's video game console is posed to be the best-selling hardware platform in the United States this year, according to the NPD Group industry analyst Matt told CNN Business. It will probably be the only platform that will sell more consoles than in 2018, he said. The Switch has been so successful this year because of the exclusive titles such as Super Mario and its related series Super Smash Bros. The Switch can also be handheld or plugged into a TV, as its uniqueness lets gamers feel like they can own a Switch and own an Xbox or a PlayStation. It's more of a complementary purchase to the other game systems, not strictly a substitute. Black Friday deals and the new, less expensive Switch Lite helped drive sales, Nintendo said in a press release. The Switch Lite launched in September, while the original Switch debuted in March 2017. Total sales have hit 17.5 million units in the Americans. Released for $199.99 or $200. The Nintendo Switch Lite is 100% cheaper than the original. It doesn't connect to the TV for playing on a big screen, and the controllers on the side don't detach. It also lacks a kickstand, so you can't sit it upright or on any surface while you play. Nintendo has also provided update sales figures for its recent release of Pokemon Sword and Shield games, which together have sold more than 3 million copies in Americans since their November 15 launch. Other classic titles continue to sell well. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which debuted in April 2017, has reached a hit 8.5 million in total sales, while last December's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is now at 8 million. So, putting what I said in the last part of our My 2 Cent, regardless of if Nintendo can keep the momentum going and what impact PS5 or Scarlet may have on it next year, it seems the Switch did very well this Black Friday, which is definitely good for Switch owners, and obviously Nintendo must be happy about it. And it is also very interesting to see that the Switch Lite, which many thought would cannibalize the Nintendo Switch or something like that, there were those who thought that would happen, doesn't seem to have any impact on the Switch at all. Though obviously the Switch Lite, is for portable play only, and if you're only planning on playing the Switch in portable mode only, then I could see a reason to get a Switch Lite. If you're planning to play the Switch in both console mode and handheld mode, then it's probably best to get a regular Switch. But in either way, Nintendo must be pretty happy with the fact that the Switch and the Switch Lite are doing very well for the holiday season, though. Obviously, they want to keep that momentum going, and it's great to see that Pokemon Sword and Shield, despite some despite some of the controversy that was been out there about it, seem to have not done enough damage to those two games, as they continue to sell very well. To do very well indeed. So overall, obviously, great for Nintendo for Black Friday. Glad the system is doing well. It's going to be interesting to see what they have in store for us for 2020. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Switch owners have to look forward to next year, to be exact. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 4, where this one is for PlayStation fans out there. There's both good news in regards from the PlayStation camp and bad news, especially if you were a fan of the PS Vita. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the PlayStation brand, and apparently it has entered into the Guinness World Records, and some unfortunate bad news in regards to the PlayStation Vita. Now, supposedly 25 years ago, Sony released their entrance into the home console market at the time, which was dominated mostly by, Nintendo and at the time Sega, before they decided to go third party with the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. Of course, Sega also had the 32X, and the Sega CD add-on and so forth, though. So it's pretty amazing how far the PlayStation brand has gone from its original entry, I believe was back in 1995, to where it really, in my view, kind of took off in 1997 when games like Final Fantasy VII became available on the original PlayStation. And of course, Sony had success with the PS2, which a lot of people have high regards of, and of course the PS4. PS3 mix, it wasn't a flop, but it wasn't as successful as Sony had hoped for, though. But the PS4, I mean, boy, that has taken off really, really well. And now it looks like the PlayStation brand or the PlayStation systems, family of systems, has officially entered into the Guinness World Record. In an article written on WCCF Tech, It reads, quote, it reads, Sony just announced to have received a Guinness World Records certification as the best-selling home console brand of all time, with over 450 million units over the 4 generations are tracked by VG Charts until November 7th, 2019. Although supposedly VG Charts has a history of not always being 100% accurate, though. They're right on the money and sometimes they're wrong, and sometimes they are wrong as well, but you can take it however it is. But either way, it is what it is. Anyway, the article reads, the original console debuted in Japan on December 3rd, 1994, though North America and Europe wouldn't get it until September 1995. It is believed to have shipped around 102 million units and a half, becoming the first home console to do so in the history of the game industry, though. Its follow-up, the PlayStation 2, launched in Japan on March 4th, 2000, and again shipped in fall season to Western countries, October 26, 2000 North America, November 24th, 2000 in Europe. It is still the best-selling home console of all time, with an estimate 155 million units sold. The third generation had a tougher time than Sony anticipated. PlayStation 3 launched a year after Microsoft Xbox 360 on November 2006, though Europe only got it in March 2007, and was priced much higher. $499 with a 20 gigabyte hard drive, $599 with a 60 gigabyte hard drive, mostly due to the built-in Blu-ray drive. It struggled at first, trailing in sales for quite a while, and only managed to catch up within the Xbox 360 at the very end of the generation. The PS3 ended up with about 87 million units and 87 million and a half units. So by far the lowest of the crops, lowest of the crops. So again, not bad, but not exactly what Sony was hoping for, though. Sony has returned to its glory days, commercially at least, with the current PS4, launching a week before Microsoft Xbox One. It benefited from Microsoft's pre-release mistakes in the way of communication, as Xbox exclusives had tried to position the console as an all-in-one entertainment device rather than a gaming platform first and foremost. The PS4 also costs less than the competitors, $399 to $499, until Microsoft dropped the Kinect to even the price, while being more powerful in terms of hardware and hardware specification. To this date, the PS4 has sold over 102 million units, passing the Nintendo Wii. They're saying that they probably won't get to the PS2 level, but it may come close eventually. So obviously, Sony must be very pleased with this, though. The fact that they've sold over 450 million units, though, and the PlayStation brand continues to do well. I mean, even the PS3, I did not get the numbers that Sony had hoped for, but it certainly did well enough, especially when it started picking up some really good first-party exclusive like Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, and so forth, though. But the PS4 obviously has been a really big success for Sony and so forth. So congratulations on Sony. Great that you guys entered the Guinness Book of World Records. It's going to be interesting to see how Sony handles the PlayStation 5 when that supposedly will come out next year. Hopefully, we'll see if they can maintain that momentum, or if they make the same mistakes they did with the PS3 and kind of fall from grace. So we'll have to wait and see. But great that Sony entered into the Guinness World Records. The Guinness World Records. So while the PlayStation console seems to be doing well, it seems as though their handheld part of the PlayStation family, though, not so much, and it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing any new handheld anytime soon, at least according to what several reports have come out. According to Tech Radar, it reads that, quote, Sony filed a patent for PlayStation game cartridges that sparked speculation that a new handheld console could be on the way. However, it was eventually clarified that these were cartridges for an existing kids' toy in Japan, snubbing out hope that Sony plans to venture back into the portable devices. And now it seems Sony has put a final nail into the portable console coffin. In an interview with Game Informer, Sony Interactive Entertainment President and CEO Jim Ryan seems to confirm that the company has no plans for developing a successor to the PS Vita and PSP. PlayStation Vita was brilliant in many ways, and the actual gaming experience was great, but clearly it's a business we're no longer into now, Ryan says. Okay, there we go. While this doesn't necessarily rule out Sony making more handheld consoles in the future, it does seem to suggest that the company isn't currently developing one right now. It's not practically surprising that Sony is focusing on the upcoming PS5, and if it chooses to enter the handheld market once again, it will have to go head-to-head with the mammoth that is the Nintendo Switch. So it is a little bit unfortunate to see that Sony is no longer going to develop another handheld or anything like that, but honestly, it isn't much surprising. I mean, while the PSP was certainly somewhat more successful, though the Vita not so much. And when you look at how Sony handled both of those handhelds, though, it's like once they put it out, they rarely put much support behind them, though. I mean, the PSP had a bit more support than the Vita, but even so, it was like, there it is, that's it. And they didn't really do much and all that stuff. So in the end, though, both their handhelds didn't really pose as big of a threat to the to Nintendo's handhelds like the Game Boy Advance or the DS or the 3DS or anything like that. So it is really unfortunate that they're not doing another handheld. But even if they announce one, though, they would all be competing against the Nintendo Switch, which is both a console and a handheld. Not to mention they have the Switch. Nintendo has the Switch Lite, so it would be very tough for Sony to try to sell people on a handheld when they could get a Nintendo Switch. I mean, the regular Nintendo Switch that acts as both as a console and a handheld. So I personally think that would have been a tough sale. So. Excuse me. So yes, it's unfortunate though, but it's not really that surprising. So overall, great that Sony has entered into the Guinness Book of World Records though. Apparently the PlayStation brand seems to be continuing to do very well, and we'll see if they can continue to keep the PlayStation brand going with the PS5, and hopefully that they continue to put out a good console when that comes out next year. But at the same time, it is a little disappointing to see that they are not thinking about a new handheld at this moment. So, I mean, it is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And obviously, they are focusing right now, currently on, they're finishing up with their PS4, and hopefully we'll see they're focusing right now on to the PlayStation 5. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 5, which is our last story, and this one has to do with Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, once again, popping up for the Nintendo Switch, and the game could be finally coming over to the West, and the odds of the possibility of a Dragon Quest Heroes 3 happening. So, we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our 5th and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be talking about Dragon Quest Heroes in regards of the Switch version of Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, and the possibility of a Dragon Quest Heroes 3. Now, when the Switch was originally announced, one of the games that was announced as a launch title was Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2. This was a port of a game that was released on the PS4. For those who are not familiar with Dragon Quest Heroes, it's basically taking the Dragon Quest characters and putting them in a warrior style setting. In other words, a Dynasty Warriors approach, similar to how One Piece Pirate Warriors was, and also games like Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors. Hyrule Warriors being my personal favorite, and so forth, though. The game, Dragon Quest Heroes, saw 2 entries. The first and the second one, though. I played the first one, and it was fun. It was enjoyable. I mean, There are certain Muzo or warrior style games that I like, and and I would actually enjoy that one more than say the Dynasty Warrior series. I mean, seriously, how many times can you retell the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, for crying out loud, Koei Tecmo? So it was interesting when they announced this title and brought it over to the Nintendo Switch, and it was one of the first launch titles that used a 32GB cartridge, the same 32GB cartridge that was used in games like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. But sadly, the game never saw a release outside of Japan. It was only in Japan only, and some of the footage at the time when they showed it, though, was basically that the game wasn't exactly, technically speaking, wasn't exactly as impressive and all that stuff, though, although that could have changed with maybe updates or anything like that, assuming Square Enix and Omega Force did anything with it. But as far as coming to the West, that hasn't really happened at all. We've heard rumors and all that stuff, even rumors that Nintendo could be publishing that game over here to the West and all that. And even as far as the game popping up on a pre-order listing for at GameStop, and I've seen that pre-order listing many times before and all that. But now we apparently have a rumor coming out that has brought life to the fact that the game could be coming to the West after all, if this report is true from a pre-order site, from a retail site known as the Console Club. In an article posted on Nintendo Life, it reads, quote, "Remember when Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 arrived in Japan as a Nintendo Switch launch title? Well, ever since then, we've heard numbers of rumors suggesting that the double pack would also arrive in the West, but no such release has ever materialized. Now, though, there's even more of a reason to believe that it could be on its way. A Western listing of the game has appeared on Greek retail site The Console Club. The site doesn't show any explicit release date for the title, but it's currently taking pre-orders and appears to show the image of the game's European box art. Naturally, it's wise to always be speculated of the supposed early retail's listing, but the Console Club has leaked a Switch game ahead of its time before. Back in September, we shared a listing from the site which suggests that a double pack featuring both Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Assassin's Creed Rogue Remaster would be making its way to the consoles. Assassin's Creed The Rebel Collection was officially revealed 2 days later, and of course, as we've seen right here, the game has come out and all. And as we notice above, this isn't the first time we've heard about a Western release of Dragon Quest Heroes game either. In February of this year, the title was also supposedly leaked in a GameStop document, which also has a placeholder release date of December 31st, 2019. The signs are certainly pointing towards an actual release in the West, so perhaps an official announcement is just around the corner. Now, just to be clear, going over to the site, though, the Console Club, which courtesy of Google Translate, helped translate it in English, though, as of right now, it hasn't been taken down or anything like that. It still is up there, and they still have it priced at, €59.90 at this moment, though, so we'll have to wait and see if that truly happens and all that stuff. So, I mean, it is possible that Square Enix may have decided to figure, you know what, maybe we should bring this over to the West. I mean, maybe Dragon Quest XI did well enough on the Nintendo Switch to figure, you know what, let's bring this over too. Now, we still have to wait until there's an official confirmation in regards to the title. Maybe there is a Nintendo Direct just around the corner, and perhaps maybe they'll make the announcement at a Nintendo Direct and all that stuff. I mean, there were information about Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster. There were rumors about it coming to the Switch. Then it turned out to be that wasn't the case until a Nintendo Direct happened, and they announced it that, hey, it's coming to the Nintendo Switch as well. So it's possible that could happen. As for whether or not people still want to play it or anything like that, Well, it's going to depend on what they do with the Western release. Will this actually be the game running on a 32GB cartridge? Will they put both games in one cartridge? Or is this going to be released as a download only? Or is this going to be one of those where it's you get one game on the cartridge, the other one you have to download? Or is this where you get a box and a download code? So there's still some questions of exactly what kind of approach, if this rumor is true, that Square Enix might be doing with it, though. So, personally, I would love the game to come to the West. I would hope that happens, though. But again, we'll have to wait and see if when official confirmation does happen. And I hope it does happen. I certainly would be open to see Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 for the Nintendo Switch to come over here to the West. Speaking of Dragon Quest Heroes, it appears as though that it's possible that a third one could happen, but as of right now, it doesn't seem like they're thinking about one at this time. In an article from Nintendo Everything, the director of the series talked about the possibility of Dragon Quest Heroes 3. According to the article, it reads, quote, Dragon Quest Heroes debuted in 2015 before Square Enix came back with a sequel a little over a year later. 2019 is just about over and there's no news about a third entry, so we've been curious to know if the series has a future. Nintendo Everything had a recent chance to speak with the director, and we asked about the possibility of Dragon Quest Heroes 3 happening at some point. On that front, the director of the game said, quote, obviously, this is a Square Enix property, so we can't really say anything, but I have kind of mentioned to them before, shouldn't we consider a third entry? So we've been talking a little about maybe putting out a third entry, but really the big thing is between 1 and 2, and there were so many improvements made. If we were going to go from 2 to 3, what else can we put in to really impress the players who played both games? That would get them really excited, really emotionally moved by it. So there's a lot of hurdles. What would be that we could put in the game? That's still something we're not sure how to do yet. So obviously there would have to be something big, at least according to how I'm reading it, for them to do a Dragon Quest Heroes 3. Would I like to see a Dragon Quest Heroes 3 happen? Oh yeah, of course. I would love to see it happen. I would love to see it come to like the Switch or any of the other consoles. Maybe they'll bring it to the PS5 or the Xbox Scarlet, or maybe they'll bring it over to the PS4 or Xbox One. So yeah, I would love for them to do a Dragon Quest 3. Whether that happens or not, again, that's going to be up to Square Enix, and they're going to have to be the ones to make the call on it. So overall, I'm hoping the rumors of Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 on Switch turn out to be true. I'm hoping they are, and if it is true, I'm hoping it's like what it was with the Assassin's Creed 3 or in this case the Rebel Collection, where it does seem that both games are on the same cartridge and not one of those you get one game on one cartridge but you have to download the other one, or you get an empty box with a download code. Let's be honest, while Square Enix isn't the only company to do this, we've known that they are doing this. They're doing this with Call Juarez Gunslinger, where basically you get an empty box with a code, and we know they did this with Final Fantasy X and X2, where here in the West, though, Final Fantasy X and X2 were one of the games were on the cartridge, and the other one you had to download and so forth, which honestly, I'm glad I imported the game for PlayAsia and so forth, so, or we don't know if it's going to be digital only. As far as the third one goes, yes, I would like to see a third one happen. I know it's up to Square Enix, but I do hope that a third Dragon Quest Hero game does happen. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about this rumor that Rig Racer for the Nintendo Switch has been canceled? Do you think that Bandai Namco was working on a Rig Racer game for the Nintendo Switch? And if so, if the rumors are true of it being canceled, are you disappointed with this? Are you surprised by this? Are you not surprised about this at all? what are your thoughts about the possibility the Switch can overtake the Nintendo Wii? Do you think it's possible the Switch could overtake the Nintendo's Wii's lifetime sales, though? And do you think that the PS5 or the Xbox One could have a negative impact on the Nintendo Switch, or do you don't think that will have any impact at all? And do you think Nintendo could expand these Nintendo Switch's lifetime cycle when beyond the traditional traditional console lifetime cycles? What are your thoughts about Nintendo having a successful Black Friday? Are you pleased with this, though? Are you glad Nintendo is keeping the momentum going with the Switch for right now? Did you take advantage of any Black Friday deals that were offered for the Switch or the Switch Lite? What are your thoughts about PlayStation entering the Guinness Book of World Records? Are you happy that this was good for Sony in any way? Are you pleased that are you pleased about how Sony entering the Guinness World Records? Do you think Sony will keep that momentum going with the release of PlayStation 5? And are you disappointed that Sony has no plans to do a spiritual successor to either the PSP or the PS Vita? And what are your thoughts about Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 and the possibility of Dragon Quest Heroes 3? Do you think Square Enix should bring over Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 on Switch over here to the West, though? Do you think it's going to happen in any way? And if it does happen, will this be a digital-only release? Will they actually do a physical version? And if it is a physical version, will it be both games in one cartridge? Or do you think it's going to be either a empty box with a download code, or one of the games on the cartridge and the other one you have to download via a download code? Or do you think they may have Dragon Quest 1 on one cartridge and Dragon Quest Heroes 1 on one cartridge, or Dragon Quest Heroes 2 on another cartridge? And do you think that they should do a Dragon Quest Heroes 3? Would you be open to that, though? Or do you think it's best to just leave it at Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it, and I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, and I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!